guys, it's Vandy back at another card fight Vanguard deck profile. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and don't do the Patreon. So let's get this one started. Today's deck is the Gear Chronicle Time Leaper deck. So this is focused solely on Time Leaper. It is literally the only grade 4 in the deck. Yes, I know that is a very bad idea, but like all of my other decks have been based off of, we need to focus on the new cards. So screw the old cards, as in like Next Stage is not in this. What's it called? Mystery Flare is not in this. There is another grade 4 on the top of my tongue that I cannot remember the name of. But also Isolate Line is not in this, which is actually my favorite grade 4 from Gear Chronicle Standard. So let's get this started, and you can customize this deck the way you want. It's perfectly fine. All you have to do is actually change Time Leaper numbers and maybe add the draw PG. Let's go ahead and go. First up, the starter is Chrono. Standard starter, 6k base, 10k shield, auto. When rolled upon, you get to draw a card. Then if your opponent's Vanguard's a greater one or greater, put a quick shield ticket into your hand. So the draw, the thing I normally top deck with, and the quick shield ticket, which you normally use for discard fodder, but at the same time can be used as a 5k shield. So all around, really helpful skill. Then we run 4 regular draws. You can make this the draw PG if you want. Me personally, I just like to have the regular draw. It's up to you though. We got 8 crit, 4 being B-Bell, 4 being Heart Dump Worker. Heart Dump Worker being the card they used to support Chrono Jet, and now the Crit Sentinel. And it's here basically because they used to support Chrono Jet, and if you know me, you know I would refuse to not run them both in the same deck. So 4 copies of that. And then 4 Luru, because who doesn't like a Luru mixing in with Chrono Jet? Also, who just doesn't like Luru in general, because it's a good heal. So, on to grade 1s. We run 4 copies of Stain Maiden Rebull. 8k base, 10k shield, auto when this card discards from your hand during your turn. Soul Blast 1 and call it to the rear, and it gets plus 5 to card end of turn. And then put a normal unit from your deck on the bottom of the deck and use it to your card. So that's good. It can be called back when after being used for Strive Pod or just discard cost in general. And you can put a normal unit back to the bottom of your deck to draw a card. So you get to constantly reshuffle your grade 4 Time Leaper back in the deck, or just normal units in general. And it gets power, so it can hit force numbers. So all around, really helpful card. 4 copies. 4 copies of Steam Breath Dragon. 8k base, 10k shield, continues Vanguard or Rearguard during your turn. If this card was discarded if a card was discarded from your hand during this turn, it gets plus 5k power. So basically kind of like Rebull, where if you discard, what you're most likely going to do for the skill to Superior Ride to grade 4, it's a 5k plus, which is all around helpful. And then auto Vanguard or Rearguard, when placed, look at top 5, read up to 1 grade 3 card from among them, put it to your hand and shuffle. If you put a card, you got to discard 1. So that's helpful because it can already plus off its own skill for that. It can plus off this thing's skill really early for that. So, and it could also search your grade 3. You cannot search for a grade 4 though, but hey, it's still fine. So 4 copies. And the last grade 1, the new one, 4 copies of Lost Gear Dog 8. 8k base, 10k shield, auto Vanguard or Rearguard. When placed from hand, reveal a grade 3 or greater from hand, and search your deck for up to 1 grade 3. Reveal it, put it to your hand, and shuffle your deck. If you put a card, you got to choose 1 or more cards, the sum of their grades being grade 3 or greater from your hand, and discard them. And continue as hand when it would be discarded and may be discarded as a grade 3. So that's helpful. Steam Breath is kind of like the top 5 searcher with an extra 5k bonus skill, so that you can look at top 5, you can discard anything for it, and it will always have the 5k plus if you discard during your turn, which is Gear Chronicles, which can happen pretty often. While Gear Dog, it can search for any grade 3 in any part of your deck, not just top 5, by revealing a grade 3 or greater, so it can be a grade 4 or actual grade 3 itself. And yes, you have to discard a grade 3 or greater for it to happen, but you could also just have another copy of this thing in hand and discard it. Or it could just be Stride Fodder, so either way, you got the 2 little searchers right here. This normally would go on rear. This you might ride early on just to get this effect off, but then just keep it in hand. So 4 copies of 8. On to grade 2s. 2 copies of Steambreaker Doo-Doo. 10k base, 5k shield. Continues Rearguard Circle. During your turn, if you discarded cards from your hand during this turn, all of your units in the same column as they get plus 5. So it's a helpful boost. It gives itself 15 base, and then if you have a grade 1 in the back row, that's a 13k base most likely. So that'd be a 23k column. So, forcing out 15k guards is always really nice and helpful. Not the best skill in the world, especially in this deck, but at the same time, not the worst skill in the world either, so 2 copies. 4 copies of Smoke Gear Dragon. 10k base, 5k shield. You know if you're building a Chrono Jet deck, no matter what you're putting in, this you're putting in guaranteedly. Because skill, auto Vanguard or Rear Guard, when it attacks a Vanguard, this unit gets plus 5k power to end of battle, and if you rode a grade 4 during this turn, Soul Boss won a draw. You do not have to be on a grade 4 for that to happen, you just have to ride a grade 4 during this turn. But it's not like that would matter anyways, because by the time this goes off, you will be on a grade 4. And continues Rear Guard, if your Vanguard is a Chrono Jet, when you would discard a card from your hand, it may be discarded as a grade 3. So, this thing on Rear, Chrono Jet on Van, you have immediately cost skills for this thing being free now, because you can discard anything, and just Chrono Jet skill to Stride in general. And if you're building a premium deck, that just makes everything free Stride. So, all around, really helpful grade 2. If your opponent starts ramming into this, block it with your life, because honestly, you would rather have this on board and nothing in your hand than everything in your hand but Stride Fodder and this thing in the drop zone. So 4 copies of Smoke here. And then 4 copies of the new grade 2 Steam Gunner Zayed. 10k power, 5k shield, auto Vanguard or Rear Guard. When placed, Soul Blast 1 and discard a card. Draw a card, choose one of your opponent's rear guards with grade less than or equal to the discarded from your hand for this cost, and retire it. So, if you discard, if you discard this, you can get rid of a grade 1 or less, and honestly, you kind of want to discard this because you get a soul charge out of it, and you can just call it by soul blasting it, and then sending something back, getting power, and then getting more attacks out of it during the battle phase, if you call this thing during the battle phase, and you can retire an opponent's rear guard from it. And then auto Rear Guard when it attacks, if you rode a grade 4 this turn, you get to soul charge 1. So that's a soul charge. So all around, really helpful, can be used in combos with Rebo to get multiple attacks if you could call it during the battle phase. So 4 copies. Grade 3s. 3 copies of Steam Fighter Balehu. 13k base, it does have a Force Gift, auto Vanguard or Rear Guard. When placed, look at top 7, reveal up to 1 Chrono Jet from among them and put it into your hand and shuffle your deck. If you do not put a card, this unit gets plus 10k power to end of turn. So, it's helpful. It can search you Chrono Jet just in case you had to misride it, or it can get you Stride Fodder for later, or just Chrono Jet so you can keep riding and stack more force markers on the board. And if you don't see it, you get plus 10k out of it. So that can be abused. It could also deck thin, and if you use it with Time Leaper correctly, you can get more attacks with more power. So all around, really helpful card, 3 copies. And speaking of the thing that we've been talking about, Chrono Jet, 13k base, Force Gift, once more no shield. Act Vanguard Circle, discard a card from your hand, or discard 1 or more cards from your hand, with the sum of their grades being grade 3 or greater. This thing. This thing. If you do, you can search your deck for up to 1. You do not have to ride. You can just discard to shuffle, and then attack skill, because you have discarded something this turn. All the discard effects do go off, and then now, say there was a trigger at the bottom, you can just reshuffle it back to the top, hopefully. So that's really helpful, but then also just search your deck for up to 1 grade 4, ride it as stand, shuffle your deck, and at the end of the turn, retire that unit, and ride a grade 3 from your Soul's Rest. So, basically an easy way to get multiple force markers in a turn, and just stack up the board easily. And then auto Vanguard or Rear Guard, when it attacks, Counterblast 1 until end of battle, this unit gets plus 5k power, and your opponent cannot call Sentinels from his or her hand. So, very nice. It becomes an 18k attacker on its own, and can just stop opponent Sentinels, who could probably be a burden, especially if they just happen to be saving them up the whole game, then they get screwed over by that 1 card. So, 4 copies. And finally, the new card himself, the thing that in my previous take I was forgetting the name of, Interdimensional Dragon, Time Leaper Dragon, 15k base, no shield, twin drive, grade 4. I like its art. I'm kind of disappointed in its skill, but its skill can still be used to a good extent. Auto Vanguard Circle, when it attacks a Vanguard, put a rear guard on the bottom of your deck and search your deck for up to 1 card with a grade equal to the called. Search your deck for up to 1 card with the grade equal to the card that was put on the bottom of the deck for this card's grade plus 1. Call it to rear, shuffle your deck, and that unit gets plus 10k power to end of turn. So, that can be used to good extents. So here's what you can do. Attack with the Vanguard, skill, send something to bottom, don't really care what. Search your deck for up to 1 card. Say you're sending a grade 2 back, you can call it Balehu. It will put it to 23 guaranteedly, and possibly look at top 7, and if it whiffs, it goes to 33 on its own without force markers. Or say you put a grade 1 back, you could go Zayed, skill of Zayed, it's already at 20, skill Soul Blast 1 to discard Rebull, and if you do, you draw a card, you kill a rear guard. Then, thanks to Rebull, if you still have Soul left that hopefully isn't Chrono Jet, you get to Soul Blast it, call it back, plus 5k, and send something to bottom to draw, and then you got 2 more attacks out of it, or at the very least, a column of 33k base. So all around, really helpful card to, I guess, get multi-attacks with, and yeah, just multi-attacks with. That's all it's good for, honestly. I expected something flashier from its skill. It's an okay skill. It's something that is not very complex, and not something that would be too game-changing in my opinion, but it's still a good card. It can be used to good extents, just not something I would personally use unless I was on a budget, which in that case I am, so fair enough. And then gift-wise, we got 5 Force 1s, 5 Force 2. I don't imagine needing to ride more than 5 times each because the game will probably end by then. Force 1, it can be stacked on any circle, and it will give plus 10k power to the circle that it's on. That's Vanguard or Rearguard. And then for Force 2, can't be stacked, also can be placed on Vanguard or Rearguard, but whatever circle it's on, his original critical becomes 2. So if you want to rush your opponent down, since all of your, whatever you call is guaranteedly going to get plus 10 from Time Leaper, if you want to just put Force 2s down to rush down your opponent's hand and force them to guard, that would be good. Or if you want to keep doing Force 1 and just focus heavily on powering up your units so every time they guard, they use up more cards, that would also be a good idea. So either way, you want to rush, Force 2. You want to get rid of hand, Force 1. And the quick shield, which is the 5k shield, even though it technically gives power. Why it's not an actual shield, I will never understand, but that's just how the world works. Well, that was the deck. I hope you guys enjoyed. Sorry if I was talking fast on that one. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, donate to the Patreon. You can go subscribe to my second YouTube channel where, it just debuted. It's focused on Beyblade. You can join the Discord, and you could also follow the Twitch channel. So all those links are in the description below. So main takeaway, hope you enjoyed, and don't forget to stand up your Vanguard.